All right, last weekend there was a big palaver about a new parent boost visitor visa that would apparently, as I said, strengthen family connections and act as a significant, well, I guess, aid and abetter of attracting skilled migrants to this country. I couldn't see how that would work, except apparently it would mean that a skilled migrant, somebody that you really wanted to come into this country or had a bit of money, could now bring mum and dad as well. And I have to say, I had a look at the particular criteria and I thought, only rich people would be able to come on this basis because it's not quite as, so I can't imagine that it's going to have a great deal of impact in the Samoas or Tongas of this world, or the Vanuatus, but it might have with, well, I don't know, rich Indian families potentially, or rich Chinese families, or particularly rich American. But to explain the Parent Boost Visa and whether or not it will work or make a blind bit of difference to New Zealand and our economy, and also to discuss a case that he has himself just recently, or is involved in, taking to the High Court, we are joined by former Immigration Minister Tuariki Delamere. Lovely to see you again. Well, no, hear you again. Well, good to catch up.
I tried to log on the Zoom, but it wouldn't let me. Too ugly.
Yeah, no, well, no, I have that problem all the time, to be honest with you. That's why I don't see myself, thank God, on a screen. Listen, mate, first of all, the Parent Boost visitor visa, make any difference to any of your clients?
Well, first, I think you summed it up pretty well, Michael. It will make a difference, I guess, to a few, but as you said, the ones who are basically wealthy. But it's the devil in the detail, and that's all missing at the moment. Because when I first heard it, probably like you, I thought, oh yeah, there'll be people who will be pleased because they can bring their parents over for 5 years. But that appears not to be the case because there's a part in there, the policy that says after 3 years you must undergo a second medical check from offshore. So that's weird. I thought it said 5 years, but looks like you have to leave. So is it 5 years straight, or is it multiples of 6 months? The policy, the nuts and bolts is not there. So like you've opined, is it really any different? Bit too early to tell at the moment, but look,
well,
I'm
there
pleased
knew a whole lot of other people, including myself, who, New Zealand citizens, who, when I heard that on Sunday afternoon, Tuariki, I went, oh God, all we need is more people to bring them over on, put them on social welfare, or whether it's superannuation, a healthcare system, or something like that. And I see the government's tried to insulate against that by demanding that they meet certain financial criteria and that they have 2 health assessments before they come to New Zealand. Which countries are we meant to be attracting these people from? Is it the rich Indians and the rich Chinese, or rich Americans? Which countries are we talking about?
Well, I think the government will say we try from all countries, but the reality is, as you suggested, it's the ones who will take it up would be mostly, I would think, be from China and India.
Yeah.
And there are some issues. I mean, I had a look at it, and it says you do the insurance on an annual basis. So what happens if the people are here and then after 1 year they says, I can't afford to pay the next insurance? So where do we stand?
Well, they'll go
there?
home. I mean, the answer to that is they'll go home, because they must also maintain, according to this, valid health insurance for the entire duration of their stay in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So presumably if they can't pay, home you go.
But others will then say, but what if they don't go home? And so I understand the government's trying to cover that, and that so they should. But as I said, we don't know all the details yet, and there are going to be people who are going to come here and they'll find out the cost of insurance, as you and I are both finding out, gets astronomical every bloody year.
Okay, yes, that's the other thing. Good luck on getting health insurance when you're 70 or 80 in New Zealand. You're absolutely right. That's good. That's really going to cause you some problems. You have to be rich. Listen, I looked at that and I thought, oh gosh, they've made a big connection of it. And then I thought, there's only going to be hundreds of people involved in this one, not thousands by the end, I would have thought, Tuariki.
Yeah, that's my initial assessment as well, because most of the migrants aren't in that wage category or don't have that amount of money. So it's
No.
really designed at the top end.
Yep. Listen,
So,
you
those
also
at the
get
bottom will be.
involved, obviously, in a lot of cases yourself, in which you're trying to keep people in this country who are here illegally. I mean, I've followed some of your cases over the
Yeah,
years. You've been successful with some of them. You've got a most recent case that you'd like to draw to our attention. Can you explain that one to us, please?
yeah. It all started. So when I was minister, I mean, I ordered deportation of a lot of people. But if before they left, they had children, this was before 2006, those children were citizens, then my own personal position changed because that child was a New Zealand citizen. And I've always believed children should be raised by both parents where it's possible. And we had a case back in 2009 where the Supreme Court basically agreed that the children would win because they can't be deported, so the parents got to stay. Anyway,
Right.
you're not
Yep.
a citizen now just by birth. But if one of your parents is a citizen or a resident, you are a citizen. And so I've got cases where one of the parents is an overstayer, but they're in a relationship with someone and they have a child, and the person is usually a New Zealand citizen, and the child's a citizen. And for me, if the overstayer parent has done nothing other than be an overstayer, my own personal position is then, I know it'll annoy people, but then the person should get to stay because I believe the child has the right to be raised by both parents. And there was, if you remember the Peter Ellis case a couple of years ago, the Supreme Court ruled that the principles of Tikanga Māori are relevant where appropriate and embedded in our common law. And it applies to all New Zealanders, not just Māori, Chinese, Pākehā, whatever. And I'm thinking, yeah, Immigration New Zealand, you have to take in consideration the principles of Tikanga Māori where relevant and appropriate. And I can't think of anything more relevant in this sort of example. And I mentioned to your producer this morning about one case. It involves a lady from Brazil. She's married to a Kiwi who's a New Zealand citizen who's of Māori descent from Tainui, and they have a 2-year-old child. Immigration New Zealand wanted to deport the mother. She's done nothing wrong other than, she's not a criminal or anything like that, but they said, we don't believe your relationship is stable, and that's true, actually, because they've been separated. But she has sole custody of the boy. He's in Kohangareo, and there's a parenting order by the family court that says she has sole custody and he can't be removed from New Zealand. But immigration is still trying to deport the lady. And I find that unacceptable because that boy has the right to grow up with both parents in his life and and in New Zealand. He can't leave New Zealand because the father won't let it. So I'm trying to get so I filed proceedings against the minister, against Erica and the department, saying, you guys, whether you like it or not, based on the Supreme Court decision of a couple of years ago, have to sit down and work out how the principles of Tikanga Māori fit. And it's not just for Māori, as I said. And those are, whānau family, and I believe the unity of the family is sacrosanct. Our children deserve to be raised by both parents. So anyway, yesterday I got the news that the High Court has accepted my proceedings as a self-represented litigant. Can't afford to pay 50 to 100 grand to the lawyers out there, Michael. So,
No.
Yeah, let's see what happens. But I've also written to the minister, maybe we should just sit down and see if we can work this out.
Listen, what a fascinating case. And the reason I'm talking to you this morning is because it is so fascinating and potentially groundbreaking as well. And thank you for sharing that with us. We are breaking this story nationally. The High Court has... Well, it's accepted
the High Court
proceedings.
Yesterday,
yeah, that's
yes,
right.
14. I have
4:30 p.m.
in chambers meeting with the justice who's handling it. I'm not sure who it is, but that's on 14 July, and we'll take it from there. But the great implication, Michael, you think about it, is the Supreme Court says that all government departments must have in place proceedings, policies, whatever, that reflect the principles of Tikanga Māori where they're appropriate and relevant. And so it's not just immigration. This goes, could go everywhere in certain cases. I haven't looked at anything else, but it'll be interesting given the position of some members of government.
So let's go back to the Supreme Court case of Peter Ellis, because back just a little bit forward, he was dead. Because he was dead, they were still trying to clear his name from the convictions associated with the Christchurch Civic case. His lawyers argue a novel line, which is that, he may be dead, but his reputation is still alive, in essence. That is covered by Tikanga Māori or Māori customary law.
It's the